Have you ever stopped to think about how the cash in your wallet or the money in your bank account somehow connects to these massive global trade deals you hear about on the news? Well, today we're going to do just that. We're going to lift the hood on a national economy, see how all the different parts work together, and really follow the money from your pocket all the way to the world stage.
I mean, it's a huge question, right? You hear these mind-boggling numbers. A country's GDP is trillions of dollars, and it just sounds abstract. But it's not. Every single one of those dollars represents something real, something that was produced or a service that was performed. And all that money has to go somewhere. It has to end up in someone's hands. So that's our mission today, to follow it.
So here's our game plan. We're going to start with the absolute basics, the core equation of an economy. Then we'll look at savings from two different angles, you and me versus a big company. After that, we'll see how those pieces fit into the bigger national puzzle, open up the borders to see how world trade changes things, and finally put it all together.
All right, to get started, we need a solid foundation. So for a minute, I want you to imagine that a country is a totally closed system. Think of it like a self-contained island. Everything that's produced on that island has to be used by someone on that island. This really simple idea is what gives us our core equation.
This right here, this little equation, is basically the bedrock of macroeconomics. On one side, you have Y. That's everything a country produces, its total output, or GDP. And on the other side, you have the only three places that money can possibly go. C is for consumption. That's people like us buying things. I is for investment. That's businesses building new factories or developing new tech. And G is for government spending, roads, schools, defense. And that's it. Every single slice of the economic pie is accounted for.
Okay, so now let's zoom in on a really crucial part of this whole machine, saving. Saving is what fuels investment and growth down the line, but what saving means for you is actually pretty different from what it means for a huge corporation. Let's break down both sides of that coin. For us, as individuals, it's pretty straightforward. You get your paycheck, the government takes out taxes, and whatever is left over is your disposable income. From there, any dollar you don't spend on groceries or rent or a new phone is, by definition, your private savings. So it makes sense, right? If your income goes up, you'll probably save more. But if your taxes go up, you have less to start with, so you end up saving less. Now, big companies don't really have a savings account like we do, but they absolutely 100% save money. They just use a different, more official-sounding term for it, and you can find it right on their financial statements. And that term is retained earnings. Just think about it for a sec. After a company pays for all its supplies, its employees, and its taxes, it's left with its net profit. At that point, it has a really simple choice to make. Does it give that money to its owners, the shareholders, in the form of dividends? Or does it keep that money inside the company to reinvest? Well, the part it decides to keep, that's business savings. You could almost picture a company's money flow like a big funnel. At the very top, all the revenue pours in. As it trickles down, chunks get taken out for costs and expenses and taxes. What finally comes out the bottom is the net profit. That profit stream then gets split. The part that flows out to the shareholders is the dividend, but the part that's kept inside the company's own piggy bank, that's its retained earnings. That's its savings. So why would a company hold on to its profits instead of just giving them all to its happy investors? Well, it's a huge strategic balancing act. Paying out big dividends keeps the current shareholders very satisfied, no doubt. But retaining those earnings gives the company the cash it needs to fund new research, build new facilities, hire more people, and actually grow for the future. Okay, so now we have two really important pieces of our puzzle, savings from regular people and savings from companies. So let's add the third and final piece, the government, and see what the complete picture of a nation's total savings looks like.
It's actually pretty simple. National savings is just what you get when you add up all the savings in the entire country. You take the private savings, you add the business savings, and then you add the government savings. Now, here's a key thing. If the government spends more money than it brings in through taxes, its savings is actually negative. We call that dis-saving or running a deficit. But you add all three of those up, and you get S, the total national savings. Okay, let's jump back for a second to our original fundamental equation for that closed economy, Y equals C plus I plus G. Now, if we just do a little bit of simple algebra, just move the C and the G over to the other side of the equation, we're left with investment, I, all by itself. So let's look at what's on the left side. What does Y minus C minus G actually mean?
Well, it's the country's total output minus everything that was immediately used up by people and the government. You could call it the national leftovers. And what do we do with leftovers? We save them. This right here is the very definition of national savings.
And here is the big reveal. It's a really cool insight. That leftover production, the YCG, is how we define national savings, S. But, as we just saw on the last slide, that also equals investment, I. So, S must equal I. In a closed economy, every single dollar that's saved is a dollar that's invested. They aren't just related, they're two sides of the exact same coin. A country can only build for its future with the resources it manages to set aside today.
Now that S equals I relationship is beautifully simple, but let's be real. The world isn't a collection of closed-off islands. Countries trade with each other. So now it's time to open up the borders and see how that changes the entire picture.
So the moment we open up to trade, two brand new forces come into play, exports and imports. How much we export depends on how well the rest of the world is doing. If their economies are booming, they buy more of our stuff. But how much we import depends on how well we're doing. If our economy is strong, we buy more of their stuff. And of course, both are massively influenced by the exchange rate.
Now, economists love to simplify things, so they boil this whole relationship down into one single number, called net exports, or just NX. All you do is take the total value of everything your country sold to the world and subtract the total value of everything it bought from the world. If that number is positive, you've got a trade surplus. If it's negative, you've got a trade deficit.
All right, we have officially laid out all the components on the table. We've got the internal pieces, our consumption, investment, and government spending, and now we have the external piece, our net exports. So let's assemble the final machine. And here it is, the whole economic machine. You can see how it's driven by the personal savings choices that you make. It includes the strategic decisions companies make about their profits. It's powered by investment that builds our future. It's shaped by government spending, and it's all connected to the rest of the planet through the constant flow of trade. And really, that's the core idea to take away from all this. The economy isn't some abstract, invisible force. It's a deeply interconnected system where a decision made in a boardroom can affect your bank account, and where your choice to save a little extra money helps fuel the very investments that create the products we sell across the globe. Every single gear, from the smallest to the largest, is connected. So when we ask, how much do these choices really matter? The answer is immensely. Every single decision to save, every corporate plan to grow, that isn't just a number on a spreadsheet. It's a vote for the kind of economic future we're all building together. It's the mechanism that turns the discipline of today into the innovation of tomorrow, shaping the world we all get to live in. Thanks for tuning in.